Thank you. Chip Kimball, Superintendent of Lake Washington School District. I was on the board when we hired Chip originally and promoted him to superintendent. We're wondering why we did that.
And you're no longer on the board.
Yeah. Chip and I have got along great for years. He started in our district as Chief Technology Officer and has moved his way up to Deputy Superintendent and Superintendent. I first learned of what he was doing when you were actually in California. You were in a Center for Education and Reform. But yet where were you born? Were you born in Washington State?
I was born in California.
Okay, because you went to Whitworth in Spokane and also to, was it Central?
Eastern.
Eastern, okay.
My master's.
So you've kind of bounced around as well, 13 years with Lake Washington School District. The technology, Chip and I are always trying to one-up each other. I have a website called Toys R Bob, and I'm constantly trying to find something that Chip doesn't know about. And I just got one in the mail last night. Anybody heard of the Pogo plug? This is a little box you plug into the wall, and it has an Ethernet connection, and it has a USB connection, and it becomes a FTP server on the web. So you can plug your Costco 1.5 terabyte drive for $100 into this, and this is $100. 11 years ago, when I left Boeing, 1.5 terabytes on the web was the whole data center out there in Eastgate. So Chip and I are fighting over who's going to get this next. Well, what do you got?
Well, see, I got this.
Oh.
And I think that I win.
I'll send mine back. Well, hey, what we want to do here today is go through some of the things that are happening in technology. And I want to start with kind of a framework, if you will. In the top left corner, I've got a picture of a 1920s Henry Ford factory. And right below that is a classroom from the 1920s. And this country had a very unique problem in that we had a lot of people in agriculture who were trying to move into factories, and they needed a schooling level of, say, the 5th to 8th grade level to be able to run equipment in those factories. On the right is a factory of today. This is a photograph of just one randomly selected Microsoft office buildings, if you will. And they're telling me they have 98 buildings in King County that look just like that. They have 250 to 500 workers and all these workers in those buildings. Well, if you drug a net through the executives at Microsoft and you ask, where do you send your kids to school? It would be that little school down at the bottom on the right. It's, in this case, it's University Child Development School. It's a private school. And it's unique in that it does not follow the kind of a seat time calculation that the Horace Mann system has designed for the Henry Ford School. These kids, they blur the distinction as to what grade they're in. They have 1, 2 grades, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 6, that type of thing, so that you walk up to a child and they quite often don't even know what grade they're in. And they aren't moving forward in the school by age. They're moving based on performance and skill. The headmaster there, the head of school, Paula Smith, will tell you that the kids here to us are kind of like Swiss cheese. They all look the same from the outside, but they have holes. And it's our objective to fill those holes. That was not the objective in the 1920s Henry Ford School. It was almost the opposite. The ones that are really bright will be able to fill the holes and move forward and graduate. And they almost designed that school for dropouts, for kids to get behind and leave. And we're in kind of a process of we need more people in that top right corner. We're trying to make a Henry Ford kind of school operate so that there aren't dropouts, and it's becoming increasingly tough. I've met with all three of these superintendents privately, handed them this diagram, and I would like them at least to start out by describing to what degree they think they can or they agree with this move. Technology is an enabler in my mind, but it is not the final solution. The solution is to make kids successful when they get out of school. And success is beginning to look different. The world is changing. So let me start with Jim. While we go there,
sure.
What's your thoughts when you see this kind of move? Are you headed that way? Do you agree with that or disagree and so on?
Yeah, I absolutely think that we're attempting to move that way. But it's slow and it's hard. You have institutional behavior inside of the system, and everything from policy to statute that continues to contain our attempts to move. But when we think about learning being the objective, where learning is based upon the construction of knowledge, based upon experiences, based upon integration of content, based upon weaving kids' experiences and aptitudes together in order for them to really discover both what their strengths are as well as where they need help. That's the kind of model that we hope to go to. In our instance, we have schools that are beginning to be designed around that kind of work, but again, it's a small subset. And from a technology perspective, and it's interesting moving from a CTO role to a superintendent role. As a superintendent, you are inclined to see the whole picture, and clearly and very singularly focused, learning is the objective. As a CTO, you know that learning is the objective, but you often find the tool as the focal point, and as the superintendent, learning is the focal point, and technology is really the, as you described, enabler, and you can use it as a catalyst to move yourself along. And we have a long way to go. We have a sophisticated community, a supportive community, and in our community we have a long way to go to get to that model. And we think that if we don't get to that model, frankly, I think we're hurting students.
Sue?
I would tell you we are in a community that understands that the educational environment on the right, for the most part, I think our constituents believe is the right direction for all of us to go. We have the same problems that a number of other school districts have, and that's that when you have a predominance of teachers who went through the model on the left, you're really going to have a paradigm shift for them. That's how school was, and for a certain percentage of our teachers, that's what they recognize, and that's their comfort level. Breaking that model is difficult. We have one school that I would tell you has done a phenomenal job at the elementary level, and it has been the technology that's been the catalyst to make that happen. They have been able to sort of get out of the traditional mode in a broad-based way. There are individual classrooms obviously everywhere. I truly believe that one of the things we have to be able to do is find the resources for professional development to allow teachers to observe what's going on in the best practices model classrooms. And that takes money, support, time. We really need an opportunity to inspire teachers to see what they can do if they get out of the model on the left and into the model on the right.